Alright, okay, this is a special video because just wanted to talk about the end of Expedition, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, the game. I mean, the ending lah, definitely, and big spoilers alert if you don't want to know what happens at the end of this video. End of this game, don't watch this video first. Finish playing the game, get the endings. Yeah, I kind of hint to you already of how the endings will be. Get the endings, dwell in it, and perhaps then think about it. What does the ending mean? Then maybe come to watch this video. But I think today I just wanted to share some thoughts about the video because there has been debate online on whether there's been a lot of talk online about the endings of the video, and yeah, again, last warning, spoiler alert. But if you have not finished the game and you don't want to be spoiled of the ending, leave this video now. Last warning, okay? But because I'm gonna count down to 5 and I'm just gonna talk about the endings after this. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here goes. So as you know, at the end of the video, just give a quick summary. You are forced to fight your own father, Renoir, as Maelle, to force him out of the paintings. As you are playing as Maelle and you want to protect the canvas, and your father wants to destroy the canvas. So naturally, as Maelle, you want to force him out. Of course, as all game goes, it's a quite nice boss fight. For me personally, if you watch my other videos, I didn't have a lot of difficulty because I managed to defeat him quickly because I was really over leveled by the time I went back to this island. But yes, by the end of the fight, there's cutscenes, very epic fights, everything, and at the end of it, you defeated your own. As Maelle, you defeated your own father, and you managed to get him to exit the canvas, but not before some very emotional talk. And it's very emotional talk lah. He tells you all his thinking about why he wants to erase the canvas because he has lost people before. He himself has been lost before, and he knows how intoxicating the canvas could be. And to him, which is very logical, he has his points that sometimes you have to cut your losses, cut your grief, and move on. So that's what happened at the end of it. But in the end of it, this is why he explains that he saw Aline being consumed by grief, and he doesn't want his own family to be consumed by grief. But at the end of it, Maelle promises him that she knows how to handle it, she won't leave, yada yada yada, and he trusts Maelle, and he chose to leave the canvas. And I thought that was the end of the game, but apparently it's not. Kind of guess it lah. For a game like Expedition 33, of course they have to make you feel a little bit emotion, and at the end of it, you will find out that you'll be given a choice technically. You find out this special room where this Verso is painting this canvas, and basically there's a confrontation between Maelle and Verso, and in that confrontation you will get to decide the fate of the canvas. So either as Maelle, you choose to save the canvas, or either as Verso, you choose to destroy the canvas. So that's a choice, and a lot of people are debating the logic or the right or wrong, or like what's the best choice and what's the worst choice. And personally, just to run through some of the choices, a lot of people I would think would pick Maelle first as the first choice because you have played the whole game as Maelle. You have played the whole game from the painted world's perspective, and yeah, from the painted world's perspective, you feel a connection to them. And at the end of this, if you play as Maelle, you get to see Verso asking you to unpaint him. And we know lah, this guy has issues, and for the entirety of the game, he has been asking for death or for erasure because he didn't ask to be born, he didn't ask to be shouldered with this burden of playing a grief counselor. But of course, didn't happen. So in Maelle's ending, basically, Maelle let Verso. Maelle didn't honor Verso wishes. She technically brought him back, and she technically brought everyone back to a repainted Lumiere. And basically, in Maelle's ending, you sort of get, quotation marks the happy ending, in a way from the perspective of the painted people. So SKA is there, Monoko is still there. You can see Maelle smiling. Ciel got back her husband. Lune is still alive. Even Gustav and Sophie is back. But it seems like a happy ending, right? Where everyone is back. But the ending takes a little bit dark turn at the end of it to show you the negatives of it. Basically, you see Verso being a lot older at the piano, and you can see in his expression that there's a lot of pain going on, but you can't really tell because this scene is silent. There's no thoughts from the characters itself. You don't know whether is he forced to live or whether he's forced to live out his old life, as Maelle said, because Maelle did say that she will just want to live one life with Verso, the life that was taken away. But but you don't know. I mean, it's a question mark, right? Whether she honors his wishes and whether he, after he really gets old and die, whether she'll honor the wish of letting him go lah. And you also see at the very, very end, Maelle undergoing the same effects of Erlene. So staying in the painting has really affected her for quite long. So that's Maelle ending. And a lot of people chose my ending and they thought that her ending initially was the better one, I guess, to some people, because technically you are letting everyone live. Everyone gets the happy ending. Gustav is back, Sophie's back, Lune is here, Ciel. I don't know who the kid is, but Ciel's get to spend her day with her husband as well, that passed away. Yeah, so sort of like a happy ending, maybe not for Verso, but some people are arguing that he deserved it for lying to the entire expedition from the start and not being honest and being a manipulative son of a bitch, basically. So he deserved this fate of being puppeted by Maelle in a sort of way. But I leave that up to debate. I don't really have the game doesn't show us, so we don't really know how he feels. Of course, in this short cutscene where he plays the piano, you can see him hesitating to play the piano, but my take or interpretation of the scene was Maelle was forcing him to play. And there's a lot of pain in this scene. Whereas for the other ending, when you play as Verso, technically it's just you erase Maelle from the scene, erase Maelle from the canvas. Then after that, you destroy the canvas itself, and you can see, and as an effect, everyone in the canvas was sort of erased as well because the canvas is destroyed, it's no longer existing. And this scene is also quite sad because as compared to the first ending, everyone that you have played with or everyone that you have journeyed with dies or ceases to exist. SKA ceases to exist, Monoko ceases to exist, Ciel is gone, Lune is gone, and in the ending of the scene, you are brought back to the real life, where sort of what you call the real life in this setting lah. And basically, you get to see the Dissandra family. Renaud is with Erlene again. You see your sister Clair. I mean, if you are still seeing from a perspective of Maelle, and the ending shot of how the family is, and basically you see Alicia holding SKA, just contemplating, and there's a scene where she sees herself in the expedition and the rest of her expedition waving goodbye to her. So that's the differences between the two endings, and basically, yeah, there's a lot of argument regarding this, and I mean a lot of debate and a lot of thoughts regarding what is the correct choice, what is the best choice, or whether there's a worse or best ending. And to be honest, I feel that, I mean, my personal opinion is that that's not the whole point of the two endings, and I don't think that's what the game developers intended as well, because both endings I would feel are equally bad, and have their negative and the positive things. And for people who picked Maelle's ending, they feel that the ending is just justified because the people in the canvas, basically, I mean everyone, for example, CL, Lune, and Gustav, Sophie, all of these people are have their own lives, and I would say have their own soul, have their own thing. And even though they might exist in the canvas, and some might argue that they are not real, in a way they are as real as us. And this really relates back to the Greek, how the Greek view themselves in relation to their gods, right? We are mere mortals. We are governed by our gods, people who created us. And in this case, the painters. So the painters are God, and they created us, and to the painters, we might not be real, because we are just tiny thing, right? They can just erase us from existence, and whatnot. But at the same time, that doesn't take away the realness of ourselves, the realness of the people in the canvas, because they exist in a way. And for them to be pawns, or like for them to be the playthings of the bigger painters, for example, Renoir and Aline, is just very unjust, very unfair, and they do not deserve this fate lah. Like everyone else, they deserve the right to exist, which is why the argument of Maelle's ending is the best ending, because who are these people, right? Why do we need to subject ourselves to the whims of the gods, who are in this case are the painters? For example, how Clair manipulated the canvas and painted over things that she doesn't like. It's very ruthless, it's very cruel, and people in those canvas do not deserve this fate lah. Just because I'm your mere creation doesn't mean I need to follow all the whims and fancies of you. And therefore, Maelle's ending is better because these are the people you journey with, and these are real lives. Who cares about all these painters, right? We shouldn't be subjected to the war that is outside of us. And as painted people, they exist. They deserve all the right to exist lah. So that's the argument for why option Maelle is better. But those who say that the Verso's option is better, or like is the better ending, is because again it boils on the argument of like, what do you define is real or not real, right? And ultimately, the people in the canvas are not real, and ultimately, in the long run, we see Verso's prediction and Renoir's prediction coming true, and that Maelle loses herself in the painting. And like Aline, she will die in the painting, and like Aline, she won't get to live sort of like in the real life, right? But then you come back to the counter argument, then like if you suffer in the real life, just as Maelle did, without her voice, without her voice, looking scarred, does it really count as living? Does it really count as does it really count as enjoying life lah? And what is really living when like you are locked in the depression, right? So there are both sides to the argument, and at the end of the day, my thinking is that, just as Renoir said before the main fight, is that life keeps forcing us cruel choices lah, and both choice I think are equally cruel to different people. For Maelle's choice, you are being very cruel to Verso. So one thing that really haunts me in Maelle's choice was this scene where Verso pleads or begs Maelle to unpain him and just seize him from existence. But because of Maelle's selfishness, she doesn't honor him this wish, and instead she keeps him here as a painter to I don't know, help her deal with grief or just clinging on. And to me, this is very unhealthy. And I mean, aside from being very cruel to Verso, who doesn't want to leave, it's also cruel to herself. And my added argument is she is also being cruel to everyone in the painting, her friends. For example, Gustave, Sophie, Lune, Ciel, and even her husband. Because the thing is, when a painter or when a god interferes with their creation, and like if you keep interfering and you create this fake happiness, I mean, you keep everyone happy for the sake of yourself, right? Are you really letting them live their own lives, or are you just forcing your own happiness and making your creations your plaything? So it is very cruel. I mean, this is how I view my choice as cruel as well, because without the concept, in a way, the concept of death, if Maelle wants, or the concept of consequences, has been completely eliminated from her choice because of her inability to move on, to accept grief, to deal with grief constructively. She has, in a way, doomed the canvas as well. I mean, this is in the short term lah, because she will choose to keep everyone in the canvas, like her friends, alive for as long as possible. Gustave, Sophie, Lune, Ciel. Maybe she doesn't even let them age or go through the motions of the life. We don't know. Because from what we see, she doesn't have the emotional capabilities or maturity to deal with grief. And that is very scary, right? If you cling on to something for too long, it can become an obsession and bother. I mean, it borders on obsession. I wouldn't even say bother. It becomes an obsession, and you would go to extreme lengths. As humans, we are fallible, right? You will go to extreme lengths to keep this happiness. And the other argument is that in not dealing with, I mean, in locking herself into this canvas, she's also dooming her outside family as well. And you don't know what how the war will go between the painters and writers will go, right? And ultimately, in a way, she might have doomed the canvas as well, if the war rages on and if the writers manage to erase or destroy the canvas, destroy her family, and then destroy the canvas. So in the end, she wouldn't save anyone. But that's the what if, right? And that's a speculation. And who are we to... The counter thing is that who are we to deny Maelle her happiness, right? If she's truly happy, then that's all that matters, because what's the point of living a life where it's where you are not... There's empty... Like, what's the point of living a life that's empty and worth nothing lah, in Maelle's eyes? For example, like her life in the loneliness shell of her body. So I can imagine where she's coming from. If I'm paralyzed, if I can't move, or if I'm stuck in a vegetative state, or if I'm like have a very big disease, and if there's a world that for me to escape to, I would gladly take that choice. No questions asked. So she's not wrong, but at the same time, this choice is cruel to those. Is in a way cruel to Verso. Most importantly, cruel to her family, who is outside Renoir, actual Renoir and Aline. And in the long run, perhaps cruel to even her friends, because you don't... she might cling on to them and not allow them to live a good life. But the counter argument also, like, why the second... I mean, how is the second choice also cruel, right? Like I said, all choices are cruel. And in Verso's choice, I think it's mostly cruel to the people in the canvas, because they all live a life. They all have their own life. They all have their own aspirations. They all have I would argue that they are no less humans than the painters, people who created them. Because from how we see the game, right, they are not gestuals. They are not grandies. They are painted in the image of humans. So they have human thoughts. They have human... I don't know whether they even have human souls, but in all way, they have their own thoughts. They have their own free will. They can think for themselves. And to deny them an existence just because you want to protect your own sister, or you want to force your own sister to back to the real world, but you kill off everyone else in the canvas. It's cruel lah, as a god. I mean, this is the irony of the Greek tragedy, right? Like, gods get to play God without any inch or remorse for their creations. And I think this is really pretty much summed up in Luné's expression. As you can see, this expression can kill. And I think this expression really captures how the cruelty of Verso's choice itself, in that Verso is denying them the right to existence, eliminating an entire world just because he doesn't want to live, and just because he cares for this perceived family outside of the canvas that Luné and Ciel has never met and have no respect or whatsoever towards. And if you put yourself in Luné's and Ciel's shoes, right? Just imagine, like, one day, I'm just using a very, very poor example, like perhaps one day Jesus appears and say that I want to erase the entire world just because, you know, I want to protect something else or something like that. And for someone who has no say in this, it's what the F lah. It's really not understandable. It's really bad, and it's really, I mean, we just feel very powerless lah. And I guess that's what Luné feels as well. And as you can see, she didn't say goodbye to Verso at all in Verso's ending. She just chose to sit and just kept a death stare at him and say, like, you have no right to do this. So that's Verso's ending lah. And to be fair, you can also argue that Verso's ending is cruel to Maelle as well, because he is reinforcing his own thoughts that as long as I send you back out, things will turn out fine. You are Maelle, you're my sister. I have full faith in you that you will overcome this trauma and, like, grow up to, I don't know, be a better person or paint other pictures. But again, this is a question mark, right? We never know. For all we know, Maelle could end up being even more depressed because she has nothing to go back to, and she just chooses to take her own life, and blah, that's it. God, game over. So his action would have meant nothing at all. But so yeah, so that's how the cruelty of this. That's why I like the two. I won't say I hated both endings, but I think that's where I find the genius in both choice, right? Because none of this choice, in my way, in my thinking, is good on its own. There's a lot of our own interpretation of how the choice will end up. A lot of the choices will be affected or be governed by how we view life, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the game, and I think that's why this lives keep forcing cruel choices is repeated twice. First in Verso, first in Renoir, and second in Verso, is because both choices are cruel, and there's no best, there's no worst, there's no right, there's no wrong. At the end of the day, it depends on which, it depends on who you are willing to sacrifice in making this choice. Either you choose to sacrifice your real family, I won't say it's real, it's your unpainted family, the painter family, your family in the unpainted world, or you choose to sacrifice your family in the painted world. And both are bad. I mean, for all you know, Renoir and Aline could argue more, or just commit, or like the whole family crumbles just because you choose not to live, and you die, and you end your family's legacy. Like, you end the family there and then just because you choose not to go out from the canvas, and you break your promise to your dad that you go out. So that could be what happened. Or at the same time, or in the contrary, you choose to eliminate a whole group of living beings just because you think that they don't exist. So and just because they are your creations and you think they are one step beneath you and that they are not real, but in the very essence they are very real. So yeah, um, it's tough. But in the choice being tough, that is why I really love the game very much, because it really handles this whole it really portrays the difficulty and the trauma in grief handling very well. My own opinion is that they should have, this family is effed up lah. Cause none of them knows how to handle grief well. If like option C, which is definitely a better option, is that you just like enter the canvas occasionally, let your creation leave out and just exit the canvas, deal with things in the real world and go back in and out, just to like remember the memory of Verso, right? Without swinging so far in between both extremes. One extreme is like destroy, and one extreme is like cling on like there's no tomorrow. And the game doesn't have any middle ground for these two choices, which I think the option C lah, which I think is, I mean, that's the best, right? But I guess if we have an option C, it lessens the game's impact, I think, because all of us would want an option C when Maelle can handle grief and like she can like just go in and out of the game and just make sure Verso's memories live on and keep her promise to her dad, right? But I guess this is not a fairy tale lah. Oftentimes real life is like that, and oftentimes we do have lose ourselves in our emotions and all this trauma lah, which is why life is complicated, right? And perhaps I guess that is the game's true intention or true message that they want to send, that or perhaps warning in a way, in that be careful of losing yourself to your emotions, or be careful of clinging on too much to sadness, or like or just swinging between both extremes lah. In a way, I think the ultimate message at the end of the day is, yes, you can handle your grief, you can cling on, but do not lose yourself over it lah. And the best way is always a balance. If Maelle or if Aline could have like been able to accept that Verso is gone, but at the same time still go into the canvas to just to occasionally for a while just to like hold on to his memory, or just cherish the memory that they have, then come back out, then I guess the game, the ending would have gone very, very differently lah. But I guess that is not what the game wants, and that's perhaps the message that the game wants to send through these two I would say cruel endings again. No best, no worst, no good, no bad. Both choices are cruel. So yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, I know my thoughts got jumbled around here and there, but that's how I feel about the ending of the game. And I guess this is one of the games where the ending really, really resonates in a way. My personal favorite, I guess, is Verso's ending, because I think that an obsession, like I mentioned earlier, too much of an obsession, or clinging on to something is unhealthy and in the long run ultimately would not benefit even the people that you want to save. But that's my personal opinion. We don't know how Maelle would move on after this. Like I said, for all we know, she could commit suicide the next day because of her grief. But my personal choice and what I choose to believe is that in this last scene, by people saying goodbye to her, I think there is an option of moving on. And my personal belief is time heals. And I think this last scene is also very poignant in that this is life, right? We lose people, heartbreak happen, but at the end of the day is how we move on. So yep, let me know your thoughts on how you see the ending of the game, whether you liked it, which choice do you make, and why do you make those choices. So yeah, thank you for watching, and like I said, this is a very good game and I'm glad I'm finished it. I really enjoyed it, and I don't know whether I can find another game like this, but yeah, let me know what your thoughts. See ya.